Hello there, and welcome to Tranquility Through Life's Natural Beauty. We've got a lot lined up for you today. We're continuing with some series and other chat too. Plus, we're going to do some channel shout outs. So stay tuned and see if it's your channel today. So let's get started straight away with this. And by request, I'm going to continue reading this book that I've been reading to you, Anyone for Tennis, and it's Growing Up in Wallington, which is in Surrey, South London, in England between the wars. And there's the author, and the author writing the book, it's her true story of growing up in the area. And the reason for this book is the first two houses I bought were in this area, and I'm interested in history on places where I live. So that's why I got the book. And instead of just sitting reading it to myself, I thought some of you love the past and old days and old times, and I would read it directly to you. I'll go shut my window. We've got a Coptic storm, so it might get a bit loud out there. Okay, so we'll start with the picture. And this is what we're going to be talking about today. This is Woodcote Road, which is one of the two high streets. This picture is 1931, the west side, just south of the railway bridge. The shops in the picture are those mentioned by the author. On far left, Nobles, the chemist. Then J. Short and Sons, dairy. H. Wise, pianos. J. Sainsbury, which is London and suburb meat stores. Ridlington's, which was a cafe. Boots, I'm sure all English people know Boots the pharmacy. Bernard and Pickett, which was a builder's. John Shaw and Dixon and Co. estate agents. Now, they were still there when I lived there. There was a Boots there. And funny enough, I know exactly where this picture is, and I just wish I had a camera at the time. I could have taken pictures before I left there. I think I have some footage somewhere. Pretty sure I've got some footage somewhere. So this is just south of the railway bridge. So that's the picture. And I love seeing old shops and old high streets. I absolutely love it. As you can see, this is quite high stories here. So yeah, very interesting. So let's read a little bit of this today. Shops and shopkeepers. If I close my eyes and concentrate, I can just about remember the old shops and shopkeepers of my childhood in Wallington, many of which remained the same until I grew up. Travelling from south to north of the parish, i.e. from Woodcote Green to Wallington Green, the wide tree-lined Woodcote Road up to Stafford Road Junction was the pride and joy of the district, since it consisted entirely of very large detached houses with splendid gardens and tennis courts where several doctors and dentists lived, as well as Sir Richard Mellor, our local MP. Notable amongst the doctors was Dr. Peake, father of the artist and writer Mervyn Peake. Maid servants and gardeners abounded in these residences, with sometimes a private chauffeur, as in the case of Mr. Ernest Hayes, a local author and publisher, for whom I later worked as a private secretary and assistant editor. As one looks at the present block of flats and empty sites, it's difficult not to mourn the passing of the splendid road from its former glory. Coming further down the road, when I was very young, there were no shops until Beddington Gardens, where Hepburn's, the corn chandlers, had their crowned little shop in the corner, and where the male staff always seemed snappy and awkward. Noble's the chemist was a pleasant shop close by, and near to this was Short's Dairy, where the buxom Miss Short was always cheery and talkative. Wise's music shop adjoined the dairy, and it was a favourite haunt of mothers in search of new songs to try over. I believe Sainsbury's was there from a fairly early date, with the high-class cake shop and restaurant known as Ridlington's a little lower down. This was a favourite rendezvous for ices or coffee on a Saturday morning whilst out shopping. On the other side of the main road, the large drapers, known as Aldis and Hutchins, later called Tilly and Aldis, and now is the post office, held pride of place on the corner site. Before she was married, Mother was practically engaged to the son, Mr. Cyril Aldis, and we were always treated as VIPs when we shopped there. I can well recall the head buyer, Miss Atkinson, coming forward when Mother entered the baby linen, for instance, and being given chairs to sit while we made leisurely selections of some tiny garment or other. Incidentally, the same treatment was given to us when we shopped in Croydon at the large drapers known as Rowbottoms, where our family was also known to the owners. Shopwalkers, or buyers as they were called, were very important people in their sphere and could command instant attention from their staff to look after a customer's needs. What a long way from self-service and supermarkets of today. Just below the railway, there was a very tiny and quaint little florist shop, more like a large greenhouse and a cottage garden combined, called King's, which supplied all the flowers for weddings, funerals, dances, and various celebrations. Indeed, they made all the bouquets for Mother's wedding in 1909, and also for my wedding in 1939. Quite a record, I would think. Sadly, when the railway station was modernised and the bridge eventually rebuilt, all this was swept away, although the florist moved to another site and is still there today. Also tucked away under the bridge was a tiny sweet shop owned by Mr. Wasp, frequently patronised by us when we had pocket money to spend. Railway Approach is firmly fixed in my mind as being the site of our family grocer's shop, Millist, as Mr. Millist was the bane of my life because he was such a merciless tease, in addition to being bad-tempered very often too. Mother and he would argue for hours or discuss local events and people on her visits to the shop about something that had gone wrong with the weekly orders. But if he were in a good mood, he would let me select a few fancy biscuits from the large fronted container bins, since all biscuits were kept loose and weighed up into bags in the shop. This, of course, applied to almost everything, although sugar was often already packed in dark blue bags. All bacon and cheese was cut on the counter, as also was butter, which was patted into shape with 2 wooden patters before being wrapped and put in a bag. A few yards further down, we came to the shop of French, the photographers, who over the years took so many of the district's pictures, both personal and public, and indeed they also took photographs for Mother's wedding and my own all these years later. Miss Mary French Kempsall, daughter of the proprietor, Henry French Kempsall, still lives in Wallington. When the shop closed in the 1950s, Miss Kempsall donated my negatives and prints of people, places and events in the locality from the 1890s onwards to Wallington Library. Some of them have been used to illustrate this book. Trotter's Toy Shop and Newsagent was situated in the middle of that parade and much visited by us as children for obvious reasons. On the opposite side of the road, various shops such as Shingles Dairy and Streets, the greengrocers, were patronised by us. And on the corner of Melbourne Road, there was a large branch of the International Stores. In Mother's girlhood, this had been privately owned by Mr. Dobby, whose daughter Elsie was one of her best friends to the end of their days, even surviving their removal to the then far-away Haywards Heath in Sussex. Melbourne Road itself, apart from containing the public house of that name, was quite often visited by me on an errand to Pannett's, the butcher's. The butcher's two daughters, Kitty and Flora, were great friends of my Aunt Reenie, and I would sometimes see one of them sitting at the desk in the back of the shop, making out accounts or giving change. Our one and only cinema at that time was the Gaiety, and that was found further along Melbourne Road and was well patronised by us before the advent of the Odeon in later years. We had a lady to play the piano in those days of silent films, which added greatly to the emotional atmosphere of the dark, stuffy interior. Pursuing my mental walk down Manor Road, there were several private houses on either side until one came to Brown the baker's on the corner of Parkgate Road, where the plump and rosy-cheeked Miss Brown was in charge of the shop and lived in the adjoining house with her blind sister. Their fancy cakes and delicious sticky buns of all kinds had to be tasted to be believed, and have never been equalled in my experience since. On the corner of Queen's Road stood a large draper's, known as Walls, presided over by a somewhat severe gentleman who expected good behaviour from children when we had to visit the shop to buy our school uniforms. Mother's parents were great personal friends of the Nelson family, who owned the butcher's premises close by, and opposite the parish church of Holy Trinity there was a little old saddler's shop owned by Mr. Kelly and containing every item in leather that one could want. Johnson's yard and shop adjoined the end of that terrace and was a frequent haunt of mine in order to get a puncture mended on my bicycle or some similar job done. Further down the long road there were various other small shops mixed in with the beautiful Georgian or older houses still there, but we seldom ventured as far away from the centre as that, somewhat despising anything that was below the bridge. There were, of course, various other shops along the Stafford Road, but personally we did not frequent that area very often, though we did sometimes walk down to Carshalton High Street shops, predominant among which was Hayden's the Butcher's, whose exciting two-wheeled box carts drawn by high-stepping hackney horses greatly enlivened our local streets on their daily delivery round. It will be realised from the foregoing that shops and shopkeepers formed a great part of my day-to-day life as a child, and for the most part the latter were counted as personal friends who watched one grow up and were always interested in family and its doings. I feel that life was certainly the richer for their being there, as compared with the barren, impersonal approach of self-service and supermarket shopping of the present time. So I hope you enjoyed that. There's not much more of the book to go, so we'll continue and finish that in future lives. But let's do this. I have two shout outs to do today. One is a channel where mostly they do growing, but other things besides, and that is Ernie Hatmaker. Do go out and check Ernie Hatmaker's channel. There's some really wonderful things there, so please go and drop by. And if you like what you see there, then don't forget to hit the subscribe button when you visit. The other channel I want to recommend is a channel that does free to use music. So if you make videos and you want to add music to your videos without any hassle, complications, and if you do run into any problems, they respond immediately and put any matters right. And that channel is Bensound, B-E-N, Bensound Music. Go on there. There's lots of music there. All you have to do, if you want it for free and you don't want to sign up to anything, that you download the music you want and take the URL that it puts up, but you have to do that every time. So you can't use that URL more than one time. So if you want the same bit of music again, you have to re-download, which takes 1 second. It really does. It's not like a full download. You just download the bit of music and you don't have to find it anywhere. It will be there, and then just copy and paste that URL that is unique to that one time only into your description under your video. And there's nice music there, some really lovely music. So do go and check out Bensound Music, and I'm sure you will enjoy the music you hear there. As I say, if you get any problems or you don't understand anything, do go on their little help area and they respond immediately. Okay, let's do this. Okay, the quiz today, I'm going to do a little bit harder quiz maybe today. And this subject is called International Community. Sounds a bit grand for what it is. I've only got 5 questions for you. So I'm going to read them all first and then I will go through the answers after. The first question is, the United Nations were formed during World War I. Is this true or is this false? The United Nations was formed during World War I. True or false? The second question, what does NATO stand for? Is it the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, or is it the North Antarctic Treaty Organization? And I'm pretty sure you will know the answer now I've given you 2 options. Did you know before I said it? The next question, all peacekeeping units are armed. Is this true or is this false? All peacekeeping units are armed. The fourth question, what is the single currency of the European Union? I'm sure you know this one. What is the single currency of the European Union? I said it was a different one today. And then the last one is the letters that spell CRESS, C-R-E-S-S, ROD, R-O-D. If you rearrange those, what name of organisation does that make? Okay, so let's go through the answers. The United Nations was formed during World War I. True or false? And the answer is, of course, false. Question 2. What does NATO stand for? And I'm sure you know out of the 2 answers I gave you, so you could even select the answer. The answer is, of course, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. Did you know that? Question 3 was, all peacekeeping units are armed. Is that true or is that false? Of course it's false. Peacekeeping, bit of a clue there. Question 4, what is the single currency of the European Union? Of course, it's the euro, and that's what we now have in Cyprus. When I first lived here, we had the Cyprus pound. So it was a currency that no other country had, the Cyprus pound. And obviously that was pounds and cents. Pound and cents. And then the last question was the letters CRESSROD, CRESSROD, can be rearranged to give the name of what organisation, and that was the Red Cross. How did you do today? If you like my quizzes, go back to some past lives, and I do them most weeks, but completely different subjects each week. Let me know in the comments below how you did out of 5 if you're watching this back later. Okay, let's move along, and let's do, as it's Friday, let's do the quote for Friday that currently stands. I renew these every now and then, and this is Friday's quote corner. Okay, moving swiftly along. And the question today is, what do you grow? Do you grow flowers? Do you grow vegetables? Do you grow fruit trees? And what would you say if you grow multiple things, if you're, say, a homestead, what do you grow most of? Is there 3 or 4 maybe basic things that you grow plentiful? Do you grow herbs? So do let me know. I'm always interested to find out more about my community, and don't forget to always let me know about where you live. So in the comments under this live, put where you are from, put your country, and if you want to, you can also put your area in your country. I have got people from all around the world watching my channels, so I like that. So let me know where you're from in the comments under this video. And as that little clip said, tell me about the best place you think that if I came to your country or your region, where I should visit. Is there one place you'd really recommend? Here, yes. Yes, I recommend. It's a village further up the mountain from where I live, and the village is called Omedos. Now, I recommend this for many reasons. It's got so many ticks for it, as in whoever comes, they like something or many things about it. First of all, it's an old cobbled area, So be warned, don't go in your high heels there. It's a cobbled area, so you've got the authenticity of it being an old village. You can wander around the narrow back streets and see some very typical Cypriot properties. You can see some being renovated, you can see some original, you can see some still as ruins. There's plenty of restaurants there so you can eat, but all down this lovely little cobbled main area. It's got, for me, the exact right balance between tourism and authentic. So the things they sell mostly are locally made produce. You can buy all your souvenirs there. It's certainly the place to buy souvenirs. You've got handmade items, lace from the region, pottery, woodcraft, so many things. It also has a small monastery, so you can go in there and have a look there. And just about everything you can want is there. So there's much more to see. If you're interested in seeing more of that, I have, I think, 3 videos there, and one is the journey to there, which is amazing in itself. If you want to see mountain and green and valleys, it's a lovely drive. So I did a whole video on that, and I've got 2 videos showing you around there as well. So, and there's plenty of places to sit and have an ice cream or coffee, free wine tasting. As I say, everything you could want is there. So that's where I always recommend if people come and stay with us, that's definitely the place to go to. Okay, let's go on to this. Now, I was wondering, what video should I show you today? I'm trying to show you on Fridays lots of completely different videos, and I thought, what subject can I do today? So I couldn't decide. So here's one with lots of bits and pieces. And if you like a video with lots of bits and pieces rather than watching just one thing in a whole video, then on this channel, I have a playlist called I think it's called Dawn's Diary or Diary of a Homesteader, and that has very short clips all the way through the video, and it's done as a diary, as in Monday, and then you'll have a little clip of something I've done during the week, and then Tuesday, something completely different during my week, and that is the way to do it. So it goes through 7 days with lots of little short things. Sometimes it might show a bit of the wildlife. It might show a recipe. It might show something I've done in the garden. It might be somewhere I've gone. So lots of little short bits. So if you're someone who doesn't like a whole video on one thing and you like to jump around to see lots of different things, Dawn's Diary playlist, that is for you. So this isn't Dawn's Diary, but it shows you some different bits and pieces that I do. So I will see you on the other side of this little clip. So I hope you enjoyed that. It's something that people do say they like to see on this channel, so there's all sorts more. And I used to have them all set out when I lived in England on a massive dining table, and they all faced in a U shape. They all faced outwards from the table. They all had a little front garden, I think. I think they had a front garden, so they pushed back a bit. And then where you had, let's say you had some here and some here facing outwards, and then some here facing this way, the middle of the table I divided up with fences, and they all had their own huge gardens, and I really enjoyed doing the gardens. So each of the properties had a garden, and I made each garden completely different. And I have got footage of that. It's going to take time because I have to convert it. It's very old footage. I need to convert it and get it onto the laptop so I can then edit it. It's on disc at the moment. No, in fact, I think it's on videotape, old big videotapes. So I've got to convert it all, but I will eventually get round to putting that on this channel. And I have asked before if people wanted to see my real houses that I had in England. One was Victorian and one was Edwardian, and the whole process of before and after, if you like, before and after of those houses. So I will be doing series on those two properties as well on this channel at some point, but you've got a bit of a wait to go. At the moment, I'm actually trying to go through my laptop and get rid of as much as possible what's already on there, editing things into footage for you, and just sort of lowering the amount of stuff I've got on my laptop. So that's a bit of a chore at the moment. Anyway, I think we're going to finish there today because Friday is my afternoon of doing voiceover narration over any videos that need that, because it's the only time my husband's not here and I don't want him to have to be quiet. He does sometimes put his headphones on and watch something, but he's someone who talks to the screen. Yeah, I don't want him to be quiet. So he goes shopping on Friday afternoon. So I do this live, and then as soon as I finish, I go and do narration. So I'm going to go and do some narration, and I hope you have an amazing weekend. Thank you so much for supporting my channel. I'll see you on Monday and Wednesday lives on my other channel, which is a little bit later than this one. And I'll see you back here on Friday. So have a good weekend and see you next week.